In today's video, we're going to cover the front side 360 SHUVIT. The first half of this video is going to be how to front side 360 SHUVIT, and the second half is going to be troubleshooting. I'm going to start off by saying that if you're having better luck putting your feet differently than I do, go with that, but this is what helps me do this trick. Put your front foot over the first two bolts with quite a bit of toe hanging off. I do this because it helps me keep stable balance whenever I'm building up pressure for the shove. Keep your back foot in the back right corner of the tail and point it backwards. Really make sure you have it on the edge of the tail and that it's mostly your big toe that's doing the work. Your feet should look something like this. Shoulder placement's a bit tricky. You want to start with your shoulders kind of backwards a little bit, but then you want to make sure that you land with them parallel to your board. This is particularly difficult because it's kind of like turning frontside a little bit, but you're landing straight and in the same stance that you started. This is where most slip outs occur. Now it looks like my back foot pops forward, right? While that might be the case, I don't visualize popping forward. I actually visualize popping backward, that way my board stays more centered under me. Take a look at the heel on my back foot. You'll notice that the heel is actually dipped down below my board. I do this in order to get more power from my back foot, because if my toes were pointed, I wouldn't be able to use my ankle as a lever and I would be relying solely off of the power of my leg to spin the board. You see how my ankle is actually used in the motion this way? While it might seem like the front foot doesn't do much, it actually holds the front of the board down and builds up pressure so that whenever you press down with the back foot, it gives the board that much more power. Whenever you pop, release the front foot and just lift it up. Also, I'm sure it's not great for your knees, but look at how my knee is actually over more of the middle of the board rather than over my foot. This displaces some of the weight from that foot over to the back of the board, which gives the board more power. I know I've said the word power in this video a lot, and while it may not take all the power in the world to do this trick, the less force that you need to do this trick, the better, because if you're using all your effort into just trying to get that board around, it's going to mess with your balance and stability. That's why technique on this trick is really important, and you want to make sure that you're not manhandling it rather than getting proper technique. I don't recommend jumping as high as you can for this trick. I actually kind of recommend jumping as low as you can while still being able to get the board around. This keeps you from falling off the board when you land back on. We've now reached the troubleshooting phase of this video. The first problem that we're going to cover is the board not landing under your feet. I'm going to start off by saying these tips may seem a little obvious, but this is what helped me. The most common mistake you're probably going to run into is that your board is landing behind you, and in that case, you need to act like you're kind of sitting in a chair and lean a little bit back, and perhaps even jump backward whenever you're doing it. By the nature of this trick, I haven't really had the problem where the board lands too far in front of me, but if you do, just lean a little bit more forward. Again, it might seem obvious, but if your board's shooting out in front of you the way you're going, lean that way, and maybe pop a little bit more backwards. And if the board's going behind you, like the way that you were coming from, lean in that direction more. The next problem that we're going to cover is if your board is flipping. Why this is happening is because your front foot is hitting the board somehow and causing it to flip. Make sure you lift that front foot and do not let it have contact with that board until it's all the way spun around. If your board isn't spinning enough, you may not be building up enough pressure with your feet before you pop. Make sure both of your feet are pressing down into the board before it even hits the ground. The last problem that we're going to look at is if you're slipping out or if you're falling forward. There's going to be two main causes to this. They're going to be either leaning too far back or too far forward, or it's going to be an issue of you having your shoulders too closed or too open. In terms of fixing the problem of leaning too far back or forward, it's going to be kind of a simple and a little bit of an obvious fix. If your board is shooting out in front of you and you're slipping back, lean more forward. And if the opposite is happening, you're falling forward and your board is staying back, lean back more. If you're closing your shoulders off and they're pointing too far backward, your body's going to turn in that direction. Your board's going to keep going in the direction it was going, and you're going to slip out and land on your chest. On the opposite side of that spectrum, if your shoulders are too open and they're facing forward, your board's probably not even going to make the full rotation, but if it does, you're going to slip out backward and land on your butt. I know some of what I said might seem obvious or redundant, but these are some things to think about if you're having very specific problems with this trick. They're the most common problems that I have with this trick. I still have these problems a lot, and this is kind of the guide that I use to correct that. The last part of this video is going to be me talking about random things that might help you learn this trick, and it's just going to be a bunch of slow-mo clips of this trick so that you can visualize this easier. So if you come back to this video to watch, this is kind of the section that you want to watch because it's all going to be in slow-mo. First and foremost, I learned switch frontside big spins before I learned this trick. This is all actually switch. I'm not saying this as a brag, I'm saying this because I have a harder time doing this regular, as I know a lot of people who can do this trick do. There's a reason that certain tricks are easier switch. Let's think about this in terms of if you're a goofy skater. If you're a goofy skater and you do not push Mongo, your right leg is going to be on the board while your other leg pushes. Because of this, the stabilization muscles in that leg are stronger, and whenever you use it to pop, you have more finesse with that leg. That's why it takes so much less effort to do this trick switch than it does regular. I think it's a good idea to learn switch frontside big spins before you learn this, because you have the momentum of your shoulders helping you out with the rotation. And you can also cheat a little bit by pivoting the board when you land, making the board rotate more. Some other key points that might help you learn this trick is to either try it nollie or try this on a hip. Momentum is going to be on your side when you're trying this nollie because the back of the board is going to want to move forward naturally. And when you do it on a hip, you actually don't have to rotate the board as much. Trying this up a bank or off a drop might help because it gives you more hang time as well, though I've only ever done this trick flat. Trying this on a bank and coming back down that same bank might help as well. I do in-depth tutorials of tricks like this every week, so if there's another trick you'd like to see covered, please let me know.